I hope it's not the same president, but he will be there for a long time, at least probably until the elections in 2020. The situation of Mr. Trump is difficult because it's the first time that there is a demand of impeachment, meaning they try to remove this president from office. To arrive at this position, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of procedures. The impeachment means that the Congress, which is the Senate and the House of Representatives, is united in wanting the impeachment. There have to be a majority in the House of Representatives, and there has to be a majority in the Senate. The House of Representatives, the Democrats are in the majority. They need, of the 235 members, 217 which vote for impeachment. If they vote for impeachment procedures, it's not the impeachment itself, the procedures, they will then go to the Senate and ask the Senate to do a trial on the president. For that, they need at least 20 of Republican senators to be on the side of the Democrats, which is an almost impossible scenario. So the probability of having Mr. Trump for a couple more months or maybe a year is very high because the procedures take a long time. He is doing now what he has done since the beginning of his presidency. Since the beginning of his presidency, there were so many acts and so many violations of constitutional procedures, of democratic procedures in the House of Representatives and Congress, in the Senate, that he was always under the threat of being impeached because he was such a controversial and difficult president, a president which America has not seen in this kind of behavior. To tell you about the impeachment procedures, I forgot to tell you that it only was attempted 3 times in modern history of the United States. There was President Andrew Johnson, there was Bill Clinton, and there was Richard Nixon. Those were the 3 times the Americans tried to impeach a president. And in none of the events it happened. Mr. Richard Nixon was involved in the Watergate scandal, and he resigned before he could impeach. Mr. Clinton was on trial in the Senate, and he won, or at least he didn't lose. And the same thing about the other president. So this president is doing what he always does. He's fighting, he's insulting, he's trying to be very brave, and he's trying to be assertive and saying, okay, let's see what you can do to me, and I will win this thing anyway. You do me a great favor if you are pursuing me with impeachment. The impeachment procedures may stretch during the whole of this year and next year because it takes a long time with hearings, with calling witnesses, of having people giving testimony about his behavior, as his behavior recently with the president of Ukraine, with whom he had a discussion of finding dirt in one way or the other on his opponent, Mr. Joe Biden, which then became public. And suddenly we see what he said, and we witness how he reacts. And he reacts with aggression, and he reacts with a lot of negative reaction, which means he knows that 41 or 42% of the American public are supporting his presidency. They think he is a great president. 91% of the Republican Party, 91% is solidly behind him. So he knows that he has no problem with his basic voters. He knows he has no problem with the senators. They will not oppose him, because if they oppose him, they will be swept away by this Republican folly. And so he knows he is relatively safe. But what is coming out now over the next couple of months of negative reporting of other things he may have done, other things he may have been accused of, this will all come out and accompany the American politics over the next year. The foreign policy is already in great disarray. The method of Mr. Trump of looking for confrontations with Mexico about the building of the wall, looking at confrontations with China of tariffs, looking at confrontations of NATO, wherever he goes, Iran, the Iran confrontation. It's interesting also that there was an opportunity for Mr. Trump to start a war with Iran after the attacks on the Saudi oil fields. But he did not dare, and he did not want, for whichever reason. He has tried to find a solution in Afghanistan. He didn't find the solution in Afghanistan. He has tried to end the war in Yemen. There is still a war in Yemen. Wherever he touched, there are still American soldiers in Syria. And wherever he touched, there was a lot of turmoil, there was a chaos, and what there is none, and not at all, is predictability. He has said Venezuela will be a question of weeks and months, and the president will be gone. He's still there. He has done sanctions which hurt very badly Cuba, but Cuba is still there. So wherever you look, where Trump has really been actively involved in tariffs, in sanctions, in threats, it didn't succeed. So we will continue to see a president who is unpredictable, and more unpredictable now since he will be possibly impeached.